Traders, today we are talking about the average true range indicator, or otherwise known as ATR. Now, on this chart, I'm going to access this indicator and we're going to give you a walkthrough on how it works. The first thing you're going to do is go up to Indicators, Metrics, and Strategies and click. Then, of course, you can just type in ATR as you need, or Average True Range. Here it is. I've already favored it. You can click this specific button, and now you're going to have average true range on the chart. So the next question is, well, what is average true range, and how should I think about it? Well, currently it's a separate pane on the chart. So you can see here, I can adjust its size as needed. Also, if you prefer a different view, you can click a little button here. It'll move up to the top with the price action below. So you have this capability as well. And now what's particularly important here is to know that the average true range is entirely focused on what is the average range of this symbol over a specific period of time. Now I'm looking at a chart of Bitcoin, BTC USD. I've got my candlesticks open, but I could just change this to a line chart. It doesn't change the indicator at all. I'm going to keep it candles though, because it'll show you the ranges better, right? These tall wicks. So it might make more sense in this demonstration. And of course, as mentioned, daily chart. So I can see now the average true range for Bitcoin at this point in time is about $2,600. So I can expect Bitcoin to move $2,600. It's its range. It's its average range, average true range. Great way to think about ATR, average true range. Now, if I click the settings wheel here and click inputs, what you're going to get next is the length, the smoothing, and the time frame, which we're going to go through. But before we go through that, let us also remind you that if we double click and go to style, we can change how this chart looks and appears to us as needed. In fact, I'm going to keep these dotted lines here for now, just to keep our attention on these dotted lines and nothing else. Okay, so we know the average true range of Bitcoin at this time is about 2,600. But keep in mind, it also says 14. So if we click settings, inputs, well, it's being calculated over 14 periods. That's the length, or in this case, 14 days. Well, if I were to change this to 50, now I'm going to get its average true range over 50 days, which is about 2,880. So interesting to see that its average true range is down a bit over the last 50 days. Maybe that's because volatility is sort of compressing, maybe trading actions getting just a little slower, perhaps. There's all sorts of reasons why that could be happening, because what's interesting is that the price is going up, but the range seems to be going down. Well, over 50 days, of course. If I do 5, let's see if it's rising over 5 days. Nope, still somewhat down into the right. Now I'm going to click settings here. I'm just going to take this to 10, and we'll keep this on 10 for the rest of the video, because now it's important to talk about the smoothing. Okay, well, remember, average true range is an average, and you have to decide what type of average you want: RMA, SMA, EMA, WMA. It's entirely up to you on what you want to choose, and these are different ways you can calculate this moving average. Exponential moving average, for example, might make it's going to change the calculation because specific parts of the average have higher weights than other parts of the average. The simple moving average, of course, is the classic, because the simple moving average is probably what you learned in school to some degree, which is it takes the price change over the 10 days or on a daily chart and just tells you the average. So it smooths it to be a simple moving average over 10 days, specifically for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's average true range over 10 days with the simple moving average. Now I go ahead and click the settings menu one more time, because there's one more very important thing here, and it's a feature you've probably been noticing on some charts, and that is where it says calculation and time frame. You have the ability to adjust what time frame this specific indicator is attached to. So, for example, this chart's on a daily chart. So the average true range then is being calculated on a daily chart. If I change this to a 15-minute chart, this average true range is being calculated on a 15-minute chart. So you can see it's also changed. If I change it to a 65-minute chart, the numbers changed again because now it's being calculated on a 65-minute chart. But what I can do is go back to daily here. I can let this average true range double click to bring it back into view. I can go up to settings, keep the time frame on 1 day, click OK. Now go to a 65-minute chart of Bitcoin, but I'm still looking at the 1 day average true range. So this is an indicator where you can combine this multi-time frame analysis as needed for your viewing pleasure. And of course, this is going to come down to your preference and your style. Everyone has different preferences. So if you do want to do something like this and always look at a specific time interval, just know you can find this right here in calculation. As a refresher, the wait for time frame close is an important feature when you're looking at a specific time interval that perhaps isn't completed yet. So for example, I just made this average true range being calculated over the 1 week time interval. But for example, if we're recording this video on Monday, well, how do we have data on that Monday? That's why it says Sunday the 27th. We sort of need to wait for this to close. But if you uncheck it, what you'll see here is now the data is more rolling. You can just sort of see that it is now following the calculation without waiting for the specific time frame to close. So you can even see here how quickly it just dropped. Let's see. And so this choice is up to you. People might want to wait for the time frame to close. On a daily chart, that's fairly nice because it means, the day's over. Let's get that closed. 30 minutes. Hey, every 30 minutes it closes. So calculate it once it closes, or try to calculate it sort of in more of a real-time fashion where it's quite literally updating, as you go. So that is an important feature for you to be aware of. We're just going to go back to the daily chart, wait for time frame close. So now that you have a good feel for this specific indicator, let's just quickly talk about the different things you could look for. Well, as an example, say you are looking at Bitcoin and you want to trade it because you think a big move is coming. Well, one thing you might first pull up is its average true range and ask yourself, is this setting up for a big move? You might say, actually, the opposite is happening. I'm not getting the move I want. There's not as much price action, volatility, or sort of, up and down big money moves that I'm looking for such a short-term trade. And you can use average true range to quickly gauge that. Of course, it's up to you. You can read this indicator in other ways because you could also look for divergences. Well, what's a divergence? Well, in this case, you can actually see that perhaps there's a divergence going on right now, meaning price has been sort of trending up. So price is trending up. It was at about $114,000 per Bitcoin back on July 25th. Today it's July 28th, and it's up $118,000 per Bitcoin, up to that price. So just a few days, it's up $4,000 per Bitcoin. But a divergence happens when things are going in opposite direction. And take a look at this. The average true range is now going down. So you have this trending up, this trending down. There's your divergence. There's several different ways you could think through that and approach that of what could be happening at this point in time with this symbol. But ultimately, that is where your research comes in. It's where your style and strategy come in and the goals you want to achieve. But now you know by watching this video how to fully access this indicator, how it works, in different ways to think through it. And after all, that is one of the most important ways to get started. So if you head up to your technicals and type in ATR again, average true range. Also, keep in mind, if you're looking for more insights, click that show description button and scroll down, and you're going to get more in-depth calculation here about this indicator. Probably something that's very important is the exact math behind how this average true range is being calculated. And in addition to that, it's important to note that when you look at this page, you're also going to see this video at the top. So be sure to click play to watch it, subscribe, And check out all of the videos that we've recorded, because we've recorded over 400 about all of the indicators and tools and features on TradingView. So thanks so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing how you use the average true range drawing tool or indicator. So thanks for watching.